big picture, this is hard to avoid, Bruce, that it just looks like Lincoln Riley is struggling to recruit right now in Los Angeles.
It does, and that certainly seems to be the case. I think on one hand, if you're a quarterback or a receiver, playing for Lincoln Riley's program makes a lot of sense on that. We've seen Heisman winners, we've seen first-round picks, we've seen NFL stars at both of those positions. Defensively, it's been lacking, and honestly, I feel like some of that now that he's on the West Coast, because what's been interesting to see is he has struggled locally and around the state. And again, most people in Southern California, USC is a big deal, USC football. A lot of parents and coaches grew up loving USC. And I feel like right now there's been a disconnect on that. We're seeing Texas A&M make inroads out here. And we're seeing a lot of other places. Typically there's been schools that have come in and gotten players. I mean, Chris Olave was a first-round pick and a really good NFL receiver. Is a Southern California guy. There's guys who have, obviously Bryce Young got out of here and went on to have, win a Heisman and have great success at Alabama. But it's other schools I feel like are going in there and getting players that you think, why is that guy not even considering USC? And it's year 3. Lincoln had a really good first year. I mean, obviously Caleb won the Heisman. They made a run at the playoff. They didn't get in there, but then last year I think everything kind of fell apart, and they're not good on the offensive line. We'll see what the defensive rebuild is going to be. Danton Lynn, I think, is a really good young defensive coordinator, but they have not done what other programs have been able to do in terms of getting some, really talented guys who can jump in there and make impacts on defense. They've just kind of missed there, and we'll see how it works out. I mean, Caleb Williams is not there anymore to kind of save and overcome some of the deficiencies on the offensive line or on the defensive side. Miller Moss looked good in the bowl game, but we'll see what he's going to do now that they're going into the Big Ten. I feel like the schedule, on one hand, it's going to be interesting to see how they hold up, in terms of a physicality standpoint. But right now it's year 3, and I don't feel like there's really much momentum either on the recruiting trail or around here for Lincoln. And I mean, you're talking about he has a new AD, Jen Cohen, who came from Washington, who I think is a strong voice, and it was a good hire for them. But we'll see how they can get on the same page, and if Lincoln can get some momentum, because he really needs it.
But, I remember the Sark and the Kiffin and the Helton years, and we're still talking about 19 wins in 2 years, and, a guy that averaged 11 wins per year at Oklahoma and won 4 conference titles. I mean, what is the approval rating right now for USC fans for Lincoln Riley?
It was pretty high about a year ago at this time, and last year was a big dud. And I think that right now, the challenge is it feels like they're more like a 7 or 8 win team now than it feels like they were an 11 win team. Now, if Caleb was still here, we probably would say differently because he covers up some of the flaws, but he's not. And I think that's the issue going forward is you look at the roster. I mean, I talked to a lot of NFL scouts. I don't think anybody looks at this roster right now and sees a bunch of future top 50 picks. They're just not. I felt like for a while, and this probably predates Lincoln, but I felt like they had some overinflated recruiting ranking guys that didn't live up to the hype, and now it's kind of caught up to them. And again, because they have struggled on the NIL front to get things sorted out, they really haven't done very well in the portal. They've gotten some guys, but it's not like they've gotten big impact guys. And I feel like that's really hurt them, whereas other programs have done that. Even UCLA, as much as they struggle recruiting and as much as they struggle on the NIL front, they got some really good players in the portal who helped them. And, they had a much better defense, and I feel like they were a much more physical team. I don't think they had, they weren't recruiting at the same level, but they were much better in the portal.